folks, thanks for joining us today. This is John Dubas with Premier Marketing. We'll be spending the next 55-60 minutes or so discussing one of the most important components an agent has in determining their success in the Medicare arena, or any sales arena for that matter. What we'll be doing is planning a pathway for success in the Medicare sales environment with special guest speaker Laura Cruz-Smith, who comes on to help us in that regard. We're going to make certain that you understand certain housekeeping notes. You'll notice in the software package there's a section for both questions and chat. You'll find that we do answer most questions through the course of the presentation, but there may be some personalized ones we'll need to address with you one-on-one, and we'll make certain that we do that. General questions will be addressed before the end of the webinar. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available on our website at premiersmi.com and on our YouTube channel as well. And so you'll have access to that through those social media platforms, internet sources, whatever you want to call them. But it's also important to note that your agent success manager, your marketer with Premier Marketing, will have that for you as well. We want to make certain that you understand that today's presentation is being laid out for agents of different levels of experience. And so some of this may appear to be a bit remedial and some perhaps not. And it's never a bad thing to have a solid review as well. And so with that in mind, what we'll start with is a little bit of a level set as to who Premier Marketing is. We're a national marketing organization founded in 1968. It's part of the Integrity Marketing Platform. We're licensed in all 50 states, acting as an insurance wholesaler through independent insurance agents such as yourself, with contracts available at the highest possible commission levels and recruiting contracts available to those who qualify. And we do so through a full portfolio of products aimed at our target demographic. So that includes the basics for Medicare medical coverages. So that entails the Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement programs, the Part D prescription drug plans, those standalone Part D plans, and a portfolio of life insurance and annuity products, including the final expense life insurance, pre-need plans, long and short-term care programs, disability income plans, and ancillary benefits aimed to satisfy the needs of a particular individual with a particular condition and need that we need to address. When we look at the Medicare Advantage portfolio, it includes the national carriers and many of the strong regionals, such as our partner today, and that same philosophy carries over into the prescription drug plans, where these are normally part of the contract you have with the Medicare Advantage programs, but a couple notable exceptions. Mutual of Omaha is a separate contract than any of their other offerings, and CleverRx is actually a discount program and not a Part D drug plan. We look at the Medicare supplements, we want to address the entire gambit of the Medicare population. So it's a large number of programs available to you, and we have specific programs in play to help you be successful in that space as well. When we speak to those ancillary products, in each of those categories, you have the national leaders there for you. It gives us an opportunity to market in a different fashion, satisfy a particular need for our prospects and clients, first and foremost, but also create a revenue stream for ourselves and our agencies. We look at the Medicare market overall and why we have all these products. Well, it's a burgeoning market, near exponential growth when you look at the age factor, if you want to put it that way, the silver tsunami, the one every 10 seconds, 10,000 plus a day, the aging of the baby boomers. We are finding, however, that there are folks that are deferring full access into their Medicare programs through information provided to us by death and other gathering information sources. And we see that, however, is more than made up for by the folks that are under the age of 65 and accessing their Medicare benefits because of a disability. So a huge market, one that really needs our help. And you can see from the sheer numbers of it, it's almost mind-boggling. But these folks have a need for our services across the board, and we want to make certain, no matter what their choice is, if they stay with original Medicare, just pick up a Part D plan, or if they go to one of the standardized, modernized Medicare supplements, or they bundle their benefits in a Part C program, the Medicare Advantage plans, we're there to help them. And we are doing so through a means of delivering the information that they prefer. Sometimes that requires the sit across the kitchen table, shake hands, kiss babies, do it in person. Sometimes it's a totally virtual experience, and that's why we look for systems to help support the delivery of that, and we'll talk about those briefly later. But there's also that hybrid piece where folks you're using both. So we want to make certain that a population that's becoming increasingly comfortable with this delivery system, because hey, they've been trained this way by doctors, specialists, hospitals, dentists, even their faith community, to access this information in this fashion. We speak to goal setting at this particular point in time. Gee, John, we're almost at the time of this recording at the end of February. Well, it doesn't matter, because in each of these election periods, be they currently underway or not, we have the special election periods that enable us to help people throughout the year. And we find that the majority of people on Medicare qualify for a SEP, a special election period, one way or another. It's a question of, is it in their best interest to take advantage of it? Because there are even special election periods brought on by different circumstances. We want to be able to address those across the board. So that's what we're looking to do today. And with that in mind, we have our special guest speaker, Laura Cruz-Smith with Baylor Scott & White, to come on and visit with us about this program. And so, Laura, what I am looking to do is you'll have to unmute yourself. And I think there's a mute function within the system, and there we go. Hello, Laura.
Hi, how are y'all doing? Thank you, John, so much for inviting me today. You have experienced this goal setting class before, and you have presented different versions of this in the past. And boy, is it helpful to all levels of experience in this industry to possibly revisit goal setting year after year. Let's reset our goals. Let's establish new goals and push our productivity and learn from our successes and our mistakes in the previous year. As a new agent, you'll find that there is a sales cycle in Medicare. And once you get a handle on that, it becomes a lot of fun to build a pipeline throughout the year and knock it out during the last quarter of the year. It kind of becomes a game in the Medicare world, and it's a lot of fun. And as you see more and more opportunity with SEPs, or a plan with a 5-star rating like our HMO our Baylor Scott & White Senior Care MAPD plan in Central and North Texas, you have opportunity all year long. But the bulk of our business is at the last quarter of the year, and we prime the pump to really have a successful year in that last quarter and get a big payout a month or two down the road. Once you hit that cycle a few times, you realize why you stepped into this business. So all the experienced agents know what I'm talking about. Time management is key. Timing is key, and we're going to look at all of that. But part of our motivation and success is going to start with a little bit of some, I don't know if you'd call it silly, but I want you to trust me, right? Hey, Oprah Winfrey encourages us to do this, right? And it's called vision casting. So you experienced agents, just humor me for a second and realize that vision casting is probably something you've done in the past and probably something you can connect to your success. I have a really quick story for you. Not only has my income increased with every new goal that I set, sometimes I reach that goal in the correct time frame that I set for myself. Sometimes it takes a little longer. But the goals that I have set for myself have set me on a certain trajectory in my life, and it has benefited me greatly along with my family. But my quick little story is about a time in my life when I was an internal sales rep and I was handpicked to be a broker rep. They saw something in me and they asked me to apply. So as I'm moving out of my office in the Waco regional office into a smaller office, I see a binder on my shelf. I open it up. It's a man's handwriting. Who is this man, right? Maybe it's my counterpart there at work. Lo and behold, it's my husband's handwriting. My husband had worked for the Dwyer Group, which is now Neighborly, an international franchising company based out of the Waco and now Dallas areas. And they have them do goal setting and vision casting. And it was his book with his vision casting in it. And it said, I want to be done by noon every day so I can be ready for my kids to get off the bus and spend the afternoon with them. Well, at that point in our life, when he wrote those goals down, that was a crazy, nutty idea. There was no way that was ever going to happen with the types of jobs that we had at that time. But fast forward 5 years, he had left the Dwyer Group to start his own service industry business, and he had grown it. He had reinvented it several times through painstaking efforts, and had grown it to a point to where he was done by noon every day, took a nap, his alarm went off, and he'd get up and meet my kids down at the bus stop. After 2 years of that, he said, oh my goodness, my company's running itself. I'm going to go back to work somewhere else and have some fun. So don't be afraid to dream big here, and don't be afraid to not know how you're going to get there, because vision casting works. It's worked for me and my family. All right, so let me see if I can see the screen here. So we're going to start with some simple questions to help expose what our dream is for ourselves. You can change these questions up. This is just a guide to help you get this down on paper. I encourage you to do this today. It's really easy to put this off, and I promise you it'll change your life. So if money was not an obstacle, what would my future look like? What will my greatest accomplishments be when I leave this wonderful life? What makes me feel gratitude and joy? What am I good at naturally? Because we definitely want to build off of your strengths. And John, I cannot see the whole screen there. Maybe if you could back up.
Did that work?
One second here. Not yet. Maybe scroll down a bit, please. Thank you so much. All right. How does my work impact my fellow man and woman? I could talk on that question forever, but I'll keep going. What gives me a sense of purpose? What comes to mind when I think about my Medicare business? Oh, so many wonderful things. You're going to have so many glorious moments where you really touch the older generation and really benefit from their personal stories after you get through with the business portion of your appointments with them. They are such jewels in our community. I just love the Medicare population. How will I enjoy the fruits of my labor to celebrate my success, right? We are here to be successful, and at some point you better have some fun with your earnings, okay? And that's what we can get excited about when we talk to our counterparts and our teammates. How are we going to celebrate our successes? Next, you're going to look at the best day you could imagine for yourself. Like my husband, Clint, don't be afraid to be off the wall or crazy. Don't think about how you're going to get there, but you're going to fill this out. What does your morning look like? What does your afternoon look like? What does your evening look like? Okay, and you're going to get that down on paper. And then finally, if you can scroll down a little bit farther, John. It's coming. A little farther. There we go. You are going to hear your vision daily. Guys, in my planner, I have these affirmations that I try to read daily. I'm not 100% on this, and that is okay. But this really gets me back on track when my mind goes to some negative places, right? The phone isn't ringing. Nobody wants to talk to me. And I have to remind myself of these positive statements. Say things that you wish were true and say them like they're true, right? I enjoy when I have a goal setting class and all the agents sign up with Premier, and we get them into great selling opportunities to sell the Baylor Scott and White Senior Care MAPD 5-star HMO plan every month, right? My goal is 10 agents on the Premier team so we can build that book of business every month. I want to add 10 more agents. I love to get referrals from my friends and family every single day I wake up. I have 2 vacations per year with my family to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Guys, make up whatever you want. There's no wrong answer here. And when you visit with your success coach with Premier, go over these with them. If you need help phrasing them, contact myself. I'd love to help you with this, but there are no wrong answers here. And there's several more ideas of how to create affirmations there. And I want you to read them daily to reset your mind. And last but not least, we are going to write a letter to ourselves. If you can scroll down a little more, John, it's going to be a congratulatory letter. You need to be your biggest cheerleader in this letter. And you're going to write about your successes that you are going to have this year, and you're going to write about them like they're true. It's a congratulatory letter. Y'all, it seems silly, but we're going to write out this letter and congratulate ourselves. I have one in my planner for myself, and I carry it with me and read it with me often. Oh yeah, I plan to have some land one day with water on it, right? And a garden and all these things. So the letter is super important. And I think I skipped over a section there with our goals for this year in different areas of our life, which is, I have that section too in my personal planner. We want to be well-rounded, and that's why I put different categories so we can stop and think about work, stop thinking about work for a second, but think about our personal relationship, think about our self-education and personal growth. If you're spiritual, right, your spiritual side of yourself, we want to be well-rounded so we can be happy individuals when we reach out into the community and offer ourselves as a resource. Awesome. So fill out everything on this page today. Do not wait. And I promise you, it'll change your life. So as an insurance agent, we are going to skip on to the next tab, John. And like I said earlier, it is fun to think about how we're going to reward ourselves. And we decide how much we're going to make during the year now, before it ever happens, right? As a commissioned insurance agent, you decide now what your income's going to be. You almost write the check now to yourself. And it is so much fun to do that with a peer or some type of mentor, and really kind of crunch your commission numbers and decide how much you're going to make for yourself and your family this year. And then what you're going to do with it is the icing on the cake, right? How are we going to celebrate? As you collect data during the year about how many community contacts you make, how many events you're doing at those events, how many permission to contact forms are you collecting? PTC forms are permission to contact forms. As a Medicare Advantage agent, you have to have written permission to reach out to a Medicare beneficiary. And so it's great to get a permission to contact form, but you also have to act on it. But as you collect all this activity during the year, phone calls, right? Maybe you buy a phone list, or you get your hands on a phone list somehow and you dial. How many dials are you making? How many contacts are you making? You're gonna create a pattern over the years of what this activity nets you. And as you understand how your productivity on the front end, right, with community outreach affects your income, you'll be able to calculate how much activity you need to reach your income goals. And so it's always fun to crunch these numbers with a friend and decide, what is the minimum I need to make this year? And then what am I really shooting for this year as my stretch goal? And as you build a book of business, I pray that you all have quality insurance products like the Baylor Scott and White Medicare Advantage plan that sticks on the books. We have an incredible target market that really loves our hospital system and really becomes tied to it. I don't want to go to doctors or specialists outside of the Baylor Scott and White system. Guess why? I can see all of my scheduled appointments within my Baylor Scott and White app. It becomes very difficult for me to manage my family's doctor's appointments when I go outside of that hospital system. So we have a target market that really is tied and really wants to stick there long term. Their medical records are there, their favorite doctors are there, the facilities are nice. All the equipment is kept up. The employees are well paid. You get good quality care there. That book of business will stick for you. And that's your base, right? Year after year, you want to grow a bigger and bigger renewal base so you can not necessarily relax, but add to that book of business and grow your income. All right, so next tab, please, John. So crunching numbers is like the most fun I ever have. I love doing that at the beginning of every year, and I hope you have some big goals for yourself. Now, we might get in our own way, right? We might have some bad habits that we can address today, and I want you to, on a piece of paper, write down all your bad habits that are kind of holding you back. In the second column there, you're going to write almost the total opposite habit that you're going to implement in your life to correct these silly little habits that are holding you back. And it could be anything. You know, if you're super successful, you may not need any help in this category, but I would bet that most of us do, even the most successful people. So for instance, let me zoom in here. If you were somebody who woke up late, right? Well, you can correct that. You're not just going to accept that for yourself. You could put 2 alarms across the room in different areas next to a cold glass of water to make sure you have to walk across the room and you get a nice cool drink of water, and you have to walk to the second alarm to go turn that one off too. I think you can wake up at that point, right? In the COVID years, right, when there were no community events, we can sit around and gripe. There's no community events. As we came out of COVID, some of the agents were griping, there's no community events. I said, let's create some, right? So with everything that holds us back, we could probably address it by a lot of different creative tactics. And you're going to establish that here. You can go on and on to column C, D, and E and kind of break down how that positive habit is going to benefit you. Prepare for obstacles that might come up along the way and hold you back from reestablishing a new, more positive habit, and so on and so forth. But if you don't have a plan for yourself, you'll never correct these bad habits. Another thing that I did with column B with the positive habits is that if I could schedule it onto my calendar or onto my perfect day, I did that, and I referenced it often to make sure I was waking up at the time I needed to wake up to get done all of my household chores and continuing education and my product knowledge development, you know, some of the outreach or research I needed to do. I had to schedule those things into my day to make sure I was addressing deficiencies in my product knowledge, in my household running abilities, in my physical state that I was working on, whatever it may be. You schedule those positive habits into your day where it makes sense. So if you're going to create events with your counterparts or with community contacts, schedule that on your calendar. This is when I'm going to call these different partners to a meeting to organize a new event in the area. Put it on the calendar. All right, so now we are taking action on things that are holding us back, and we are really making headway. Let's move on to the next tab, John. Awesome. So we're going to look at the opportunity calendar in the next tab. As a Medicare agent, there are income generating activities that you can work on each and every month to make sure you're set up for success. At some points in the month, we might feel like, oh my gosh, the phone isn't ringing. What am I going to do to make money? You can reference this calendar here, and at the top of this chart, you'll see months. Okay, in row 1. January, February, March, from left to right, it shows the whole year and the type of activity that you need to plan for or actually act on in those particular months. And if you can scroll all the way up, that would be great, John. So in January, once you have a book of business, you're really onboarding new members and making sure they stick, making sure they don't contact a call center, a commercial, maybe even the carrier to ask a question that you could easily answer. And so you're going to want to do some of that outreach for them. for instance, we have a great PPO MetLife dental plan that's a bonus benefit on our Baylor Scott and White senior care program. And so you might want to make sure they're able to find their dentist in January. Did you make contact with a MetLife dentist yet? Now, this is a PPO plan, so they don't have to use MetLife dentists. They can actually go out of network and still benefit from the dental plan. But you might contact them to make sure they know you're still their agent and you're here to help. Things like ID cards, which can be downloaded from their member portal. Things like the local gym that they can connect with through their Silver and Fit plan, which is a bonus benefit on the Baylor Scott and White Senior Care Advantage plan. Remember, during this time is the open enrollment period. So as you reach out to your new members and your existing members, they could definitely refer you business. So handling these types of things as you're growing a book of business can really net you some referrals. So it is not a waste of time. It's nothing but an opportunity, because you have the open enrollment period where you can help their friends and family make a change if they are not happy with their insurance. Now, side note, with the open enrollment period, that is kind of the last enrollment period we want to offer people, right? We cannot promote the open enrollment period per Medicare marketing guidelines, but it's there in the background after we make sure there's no other special enrollment period they can utilize. That makes more sense. If there's nothing there, then we can bring that open enrollment period out of our back pocket and gain a new customer. We want to start agent solicitations around this time, or at least purchase our lists, and make sure you're reaching out to the turning 65 population and get them early before they become Medicare eligible and before other agents get in front of them. You may not have a budget to do something like this your first year of doing business, but that's why you want to be with a great organization like Premier, so you can discuss these types of investments with them. What does it cost? How do I set this up? There's a million vendors out there. Which one is successful? Is there a script I can use? Training. That's where Premier is really going to come in handy. As a mentor, making sure you invest in the right places. Now, after you've been in the business 2 or 3 years and you get that big chunk of money from all the work that you did during the annual enrollment period, you'll set some of that money back to invest in things like agent solicitation all by yourself, okay? But you want to start thinking and asking about this. Ask Premier, can you help me learn about this and plan for it and budget it in or earn it somehow? Okay, OTC benefits are really big and popular. Did your clients get their over-the-counter cards? Again, another opportunity for a referral and outreach to your current book of business. Make sure they stick with you. So lead services, I'm going to skip on down to line 14. You want to think about scheduling your Medicare 101 events in the community. We'll talk about where and how to spot opportunities to have Medicare 101 events. Again, ask your leader through Premier how Medicare 101 events can benefit you, and fill your pipeline for the following AEP. Formal sales events are going to be events where you actually present a carrier and you go through the benefits and you're selling your attendees on a specific carrier. You're going to want to have activity like this during the year, and you need to spot opportunities to offer these types of events in the community. Throughout the year, you'll see in each month, you might have some type of birthday card, either handwritten or some type of system that you build out. That's where your CRM will come in handy. FMOs like Premier will have that type of technology for you. If you don't want a fancy CRM, some agents are still pretty manual. They might just use an Excel sheet. Some agents are still working with just a filing cabinet. I don't know how they do that, but to me, an Excel sheet is a gold mine, and a CRM is even better. You want to track your referrals. I'll show you how to do that in your CRM here in a moment. And as you get out in the community, you're going to be collecting these permission to contact forms. Don't sit on them. Don't lose them. You need to plug that information into your CRM so you can follow up and track it ongoing, right? The contacts that you're making in the community are a gold mine that, in my opinion, never go away. You want to keep working those contacts. They may not be a customer today, but they could be a customer tomorrow. And as we become more and more technology focused, you might delve into the social media arena, right? You see a lot of great agents and agency have a presence on social media, and I'm sure Premier has either specialists or classes on this type of information, so you can start developing your own presence on social media. Once you do that, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn even, you've got to manage it. And so that type of activity is income generating activity that will fill your schedule up and fill your pipeline up with opportunity during what I call the off season, right? Okay. Now, the reason January through May is important is because after May, you have to make time for your AHIP and the carrier trainings. Contracting, if you have continuing education that you need to do for your state license, you've got to fit that in somewhere in the year. So don't sit on your laurels January through May. You need to get out there and pound the pavement, because June, July, and August and September, you're really starting to wind up for the next AEP. So again, you've got to make time for your AHIP, all your carrier trainings. And then you kind of have to start learning the product, because you're going to start presenting it in October to your pipeline. Okay. Now in August and September, we cannot talk about the new product, right? We can only talk about it on October 1. But what you can do is you can start contacting your pipeline, right? All those permission to contact forms, all your referrals that you've gotten. You start contacting them in August and September, and you let them know, hey, I'm jumping ahead of schedule and making sure I have plenty of time for you this AEP. I want at least 30 minutes for each of my clients. And you know, you and I talked about an annual review. I want to set up a tentative appointment for you in October. I'm going to be in your areas every Thursday this year, right? Because as you become more developed and you start streamlining your travel and your time to really maximize that AEP, which is it's a finite amount of time, right? October 1 through December 7th, and you can't collect applications till October 15th. So you have that much time to really cram in as much business as possible. So you might schedule all your appointments in one geographic area on certain days of the week, and you kind of make routes in those areas. You start laying that out early in August and September, right? I'm going to make a tentative appointment with you. If we've got to change it, that's fine, but I'm going to go ahead and grab some time for you. Does this day or this day work for you? Great. If you have any friends or family that are also needing assistance, this is a great time to grab time on my calendar. Make sure you mention my name. I'm going to put some business cards in the mail for you so you can pass them out to your friends and family. Oh, wow. You might have a great mail program that early in the year to remind everybody who you are, a letter, a magnet of some sort that they can put up on their refrigerator, something to reach out. And as you build a book of business and you have marketing dollars to spend, you might really get creative in August and September to get your face out there to your pipeline. Ooh, I'm getting excited. Oh my goodness. All right, so, and then October, November, December, we are hammering out sales, okay? I feel really bad for agents that start in October or September. Doesn't mean they won't land some business, you know, but we really need all this time to build a pipeline and really consistently have strong AEPs, and it's a lot of fun, y'all. Okay, so let's go on to the next tab, John, the opportunity tracker. So as we're out in the community, building our pipeline, right? What does that look like? Well, you know, every time you drive to the grocery store, let's say your vehicle is a Lexus. I bet you spot other Lexuses, right? And when you get a new car, now you're driving a BMW. I bet you're spotting all the BMWs. Well, you're going to start doing that with community event opportunities. where are you going to have your Medicare 101 presentations? And for you newer agents, these are just education based, like this is how Medicare works. Here are the different insurance options you have in general. It's not carrier specific. It just kind of gets you out there meeting the community and making you a specialist and a knowledgeable person that they can trust, right? So you're going to spot employers, business organization, churches, right? You may not do a sales presentation at a church. That might not feel right, but general education, I feel very comfortable with. It's not a sales presentation. It's a Medicare 101, just free education. I felt very comfortable doing that for some church organizations. School entities, right? Some of y'all are doing Medicare and ACA products. Some people will get involved in their that football where the parents help the football team, whatever that's called. And they'll, meet other parents in the community. That's a great way to build an ACA book, which feeds Medicare and gets them set up for their Baylor Scott and White senior care advantage plan. Social organizations, the garden club, right? What are your interests? Gravitate to some of those social organizations so you can offer a free education presentation, be a speaker at some of their meetings. What marketing events, maybe online or industry events that are related to insurance, right? If we go to insurance events, we're going to be around other brokers, but you might go to like group type of events where you're going to meet HR people, right? HR people have people that age off their group plans or retire. You can't push Medicare beneficiaries off of an active group plan if they're active employees, but they might be ready to retire and they might need to consider a Medicare Advantage plan. What type of advertising do you see in the community, like smaller billboards that you might be able to afford, little newspapers that are affordable to advertise in? Let's see what else. Digital billboards I'm starting to see here and there, which are really cool. Next, social media, right? What platform do I want to be on? I need to kind of list that here. So in that day where I don't have anything to do, right, I can refer back to this and say, oh yeah, I need to work on my LinkedIn profile. Website, do you have a website? Do you need to maintain it and develop it? All your referrals you want to track so you don't lose track of them, and so you can make sure you're able to do almost little mass mail outs to people that you've contacted quickly and easily, right? You want to kind of cast a big net with your CRM and all the names that you've collected. You don't let those go. Food banks, where are the local food banks? You need to spot those. Restaurants, where you might host an education event or a formal sales event. Senior complexes, oh my gosh, you could put on all kinds of fun events for them to get plugged into those communities. Assisted living centers, doctor's offices, oh my gosh, provider-based marketing is huge, including dentists. And the eyewear facilities, hearing aids, like they need to know who you are. The pharmacists that are in your area, especially the mom and pop pharmacists, they really need our attention. Local gyms, P&C agents, if you aren't in direct competition with them and you're not doing property and casualty insurance, they have a huge book of business more than likely that you might benefit from, and y'all might mutually benefit from, right? You might refer some P&C referrals to them, but property and casualty agents that don't compete with you, right? Because they're not selling health insurance or anything else. Those are great partners. Attorneys, elder law attorneys specifically, are great contacts in the community, as well as financial services agents if you're not in that realm. But you're going to want to track all that here. So when you have a blank spot in your calendar, you can refer to this and start working on some of these referral sources. I need to call, I need to drop by and visit. We were going to go to lunch together, right? You need to follow up with all these referral sources. Make sure you track it. Okay, on the next tab, we have a lead tracker. Now, I kind of delve a little farther into what type of information you need to collect on the next tab. And that's for the newer agents. So experienced agents know exactly where they're taking conversations, what information they're trying to uncover. But at the top of this page, it really does it for you. So the types of things you want to track, newer agents, the status of the lead, right? Did I already close these people? Are they brand new? Are they not prospects, just a friend? I don't know. You know, you can create your own statuses. Do I have a follow-up date that I'm shooting for? Maybe I ran across my old karate teacher, right? And he has a local karate dojo, and I ran into him, and he was like, hey, call me next week. I'm too busy to talk right now. Great. I'm going to track it here, right? I'm also going to put it on my calendar. You don't just want their name and their name. You want their address, their phone number, and their email. Why? Because when the phone isn't ringing, you can do a little mail out to these people, right? You can have, I'm sure Premier has templates that you can use to reach out to people. I have Baylor Scott and White flyers and postcards where you just kind of type in your information. You can print those out, put a postcard on it, and send it off. Most experienced agents will have a general postcard that they print out for themselves. Those print jobs are pretty affordable, probably net you 1,000 of them, and you can work off of that in almost every situation you run into with a prospect. And when you get home, yes, you had a great conversation with them, you put their information in your phone, you put them on your calendar to follow up, but guess what? I'm going to hit them one other way. I'm going to put my general postcard in the mail to them. So that way they're going through the mail and, oh my gosh, I remember I ran into Laura the other day. Yes, we're going to have lunch. Awesome. You know, in marketing, you have to touch people several times in several different ways for them to remember you. So a general postcard is awesome. Mail outreach is awesome, as well as email outreach. Make sure you follow Medicare marketing guidelines on that, but email to me is like a free mail out. I just love it. So make sure you collect email addresses as well. Some of the information you're going to be wanting to uncover in conversations with prospects is what type of plan do they currently have? What company is it with? Who referred them to you, right? You don't want to forget that. So you can remind them, oh yeah, Jim referred me. I'm so glad he put us in touch. Oh yeah, you want to remind them about that. Where did they work? Where was their career, right? So you can maybe make a contact there. They might be a good referral to other people who are retiring from that same industry or employer. Who's their family that you might know? What's their greatest concern? What type of prescriptions are they, you know, most concerned about? What doctors do they absolutely have to have? Do they have LIS, which is low income subsidy? That's the first level of extra help when somebody has a limited income, all the way up to Medicaid. And what medical issues are they most concerned about, right? Maybe they have a surgery coming up, or they have an ongoing issue that they have to maintain. You know, whatever it may be, what are their biggest concerns that will really help you close business down the road as you help them stay focused on why you're matching them up with a certain plan with a certain type of benefit. All right, next, the next item that you're going to be tracking are your commissions, agents. If you don't track your commissions, you might not know that you're not getting paid on certain things. Now, our senior care commission department is excellent. We don't have problems paying out commissions, but you're going to want to have a general source where you're tracking all of your sales and making sure you're auditing your commission statements to make sure you get paid. It's just a good rule of thumb. I'm highly confident in our commission system. It is very dependable, and I don't really have any issues with it at all. But if you were my friend, if I was getting to offer you some advice, I would track all carriers across the board on one main source. I'm not sure if your CRM might do that, or you might just use a simple Excel sheet to track all of your sales. I've provided columns there for items that you're going to want to track on this sheet to make sure you're able to match up a client with a company that you're selling for and the level of commission that you're at. All right, so we have covered so much, but you can see your CRM is going to be very important to tracking all the type of information you need to be successful in this industry. ask Premier about what resources they have in that realm and others. I encourage you to lean on Premier and try to put as many carriers with them as possible. I see agents who spread out, you know, their FMO relationships all over the place. And I think that's very difficult for a new agent. So really consider Premier as your main source so you can consolidate all of your efforts. I'm telling you, these FMOs will invest in you a lot more if you put more carriers in line with them or under them. They're willing to invest in you a whole lot more. I think it will benefit you once you do that. Ask your Premier success coach, I think is what you called it, John, or success manager about how many carriers they would, you know, like you to have, and consider it. You know, do what you've got to do, but see how it might benefit you to put several carriers under Premier. You might be surprised. Okay, so we've covered so much. Wow. But as you can see, this whole entire year is important. There's lots of things you can do to move the needle this year. But maybe 3 things stood out for you today. I know it's a lot to digest, but what were the 3 things that stood out like, oh my gosh, I need to implement that? These are probably not new ideas for you experienced agents, but we juggle so much. This course might have helped you refocus and say, yep, I was meaning to do that this year. I'm going to get started on it. So what are the 3 things that you're going to focus on and talk to your Premier success manager about, the ideas that are just resonating with you, and they will help you get a plan to execute them. All right. And I want you to work those items backwards. Okay. You have 3 things to do. Most people make a list and they never act upon it. Why? Because those 3 things are really 3 separate projects, okay? So if you're going to do Medicare 101 events, okay, I'm putting it down on a list, but there's several steps to that, right? 1, I need to talk to my Premier success manager. 2, I need to find out if I need a budget to do that. Where am I going to get materials? Where am I going to get the presentation? Do I have to create it from scratch, or does Premier have one available to me? Does that nice lady, Laura from the Baylor Scott and White Senior Care MAPD 5-star HMO plan have one for me? You betcha. And how do I schedule an event, right? We've got to train you up on all this and help you really knock it out of the park. But these are 3 separate projects you're going to be working on with a lot of different task lists. And I encourage you to reach out to your Premier success manager to make sure these 3 projects are implemented and help you reach your ultimate vision for your life this year. I really appreciate your time today. I feel a lot of love in the room, and I really wish the best for you. Let's all be successful together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate your contribution and the thoroughness of your presentation. It's important to note that statistics show agents are more successful, salespeople are more successful, people in general are, if they write down their goals. And I know that might sound a little bit silly, but it's an internalization of what we are and what we hope to be, and that can make a big difference. So it's important to integrate in the entire function of you, and that includes that balance of life piece that, okay, if I'm getting up at this particular point in time, Laura mentioned, what am I doing at these different time periods? Well, do you have a time for meditation? Do you have a time for prayer? Do you have a time for exercise? If you don't schedule the exercise, it doesn't always get done. Testifying here. So we want to make certain that we look at things a little bit holistically and how that can really positively affect our business. Now, some of the reasons why you want to do this through Premier, we have a system to help you contract very simply. When you look at Baylor Scott and White, we're going to use some direct to the carrier contracting. But when you look at the different ancillary programs and different programs that can make a difference for you, this can simplify it. You can create an agent profile and contract electronically. Let's face it, when I first started, we didn't have hammers and chisels still at that time, but nothing was electronic. Here, you start with the contracting process, you work your way through. It really simplifies life in the long run. The errors and admissions program that we have is discounted for qualified agents. What makes you a qualified agent? You got a contract with us. This, however, satisfies this requirement regardless of whom you contract through. You own this. You're not added to a blankety, for one program or another, and then have to search for other things that come into play. So this can really help you satisfy this requirement you have with the different carriers asking this of you. We do keep a system in play to help you with maintaining your license through discounted continuing education courses through our association with WebCE. And since you are an independent agent tasked with your own benefit package, we also have a modified guarantee issue disability income program that you write on yourself that you're paid a commission on. A great way to add to your own benefit structure. I mentioned that today's presentation is being recorded. It will be made available on our website and on our YouTube channel as well. Keep in mind, past presentations have been. Laura alluded to some of the different ways of working the community. So working with providers, working with faith-based organizations. We have presentations that are recorded and in play there, and we do updates on a very regular basis as well. So a great way for you to be able to access this information 24/7. This electronic tool that was alluded to just a wee bit is our access to Medicare Center. I can't overemphasize the value of this program. It's available without cost to our contracting agents. It gives you that access to multiple quoting engines powered by Connecture, Sunfire, CSG. It gives you the ability to make certain that you stay compliant with collecting that scope of appointment before discussing plans in detail and storing it for that 10-year period. And thank you for all the bloody commercials that come about. It's also a way for you to do that call recording and store that as well, all available without cost to you. That enables you to use a side-by-side plan comparison should you choose to do so. It does create a Pearl for you. Laura mentioned websites. Well, this is a program that creates a microsite for you. You control what product is made available to you or to the public through that. You can utilize a link to it in your email correspondence, a number of different ways that you can publicize it, but it's a great way for you then to make available a online shopping tool for your prospects and clients, where if they enroll outside of your discussion through that site, well, it's still your client, that's still your commission. It does include a CRM within the system, and this is something that we really want to take advantage of throughout the year. We have all those different special election periods where folks can make a change based on different circumstances, and it may be a move, it may be an age-in, it may be someone who qualifies for low-income subsidy for helps with their medications, but not a full dual qualifier. So a number of different ways that those programs enable us to help people with changes throughout the year. This helps us track that. And it has switcher tags in there. So it will identify different prospects and clients that are more susceptible to a change throughout the year, so it can help you build your book and maintain your book as well. Lead Center we're going to talk about in just a moment. But one of the things that it's important for us to note is, okay, someone raised their hand, we have a lead, we're going to discuss things with them compliantly. How can we be better at our selling techniques? So the Learning Center within this program can help you as well, and it is available in a mobile application. And to quote one of those quasi personalities on TV, it's free. You don't have to pay anything extra for this tool. It comes as part of your engagement with our organization. There are programs out there that will also offer additional incentives. The Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans, the max comp is set by the government, so not really a play here. But if you take out dental programs, or if you look at final expense or life insurance or long-term care or whatever it happens to be, many of these carriers will offer additional incentives for you to work with them through a production-based type of incentive, and that may qualify you for their trips and will help qualify you for premier incentive programs that include help with some of the marketing that we'll talk about in just a moment, but also it will help you qualify for our producers convention, which returns from a short hiatus brought about by the pandemic, all available for you there as well. those lead programs. Well, that contact list for cold calling. Now, keep in mind, you can't cold call for MA or PDP, but you surely can for demand products like dental. So we have a lot of agents that are looking at dialing in through the system for dental programs at age 64. Why? Well, one, you're building your T65 funnel, but two, most of the dental programs, the standalone dental programs, the premium goes up at 65. A great way for you to speak to people in a different fashion than the multitude of calls you're probably getting. I'm not on Medicare. I get a half a dozen calls in the morning from, finger quotes working here, teleshops that want to help me with my Medicare programs or my final expense programs. You know how many I get on dental? Nothing. I get about 15 to 20 of the others. I killed my robocaller because my phone number I use for purposes of speaking with you. So there are things that can come into play there, but those custom lists can be available to you at low or no cost, depending upon your relationship with our organization. Community-based programs. Now, many folks are engaged in retail marketing throughout the year, particularly during AEP. So if you're involved with a Walmart campaign or a carrier-driven program in this area, we have programs that help you maximize the value of that investment. And some of you may be thinking, well, gee, John, that ended on Pearl Harbor Day. No, it didn't. You need to maintain that contact throughout the year because, well, pharmacies, they're one of the first points of contact for people that are moving into an area or changing programs. That's a point of contact that you really want to be the subject matter expert for those particular locations. Faith-based opportunities. These are folks that won't respond to other types of marketing outreach, but will if information is delivered through their faith-based organization. And as Laura said, you don't necessarily want to go in there and hammer them with a particular product, but the concept is perfect. Here's my Medicare 101. And yes, I've got about a half a dozen Medicare 101 pieces, one developed by our integrity folks, one straight out of CMS. So some different plays that can come into to use there. But it's important to note that you have a variety of programs that you can offer. Legacy Safeguard for final expense, explanations on Medicare Advantage programs or PDP programs, all through presentations that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I've got to tell you, be careful about doing that because you have compliance concerns in certain circumstances if you do that. We also have programs in play to help you approach the providers. So it's not just the doctors and the specialists. It can be the dentists. It can be anyone who bills Medicare on a regular basis if they're not part of a network. That can be really helpful for you. DME, durable medical equipment folks, or home health agencies. Some of those organizations that can be a pain point for you if you're not addressing them up front. Some carriers do generate leads for you as well. That's kind of a quid pro quo situation where you're scratching their back, they're gonna scratch yours. That's something that it's important then to maintain the relationship with representatives from the carriers, such as Laura here today. If you're working with her, she's more inclined to work with you because, let's face it, it's got to be a win-win situation for everybody in order for it to really move forward. We do have social media leads. We do offer direct mail support, the Lead Center program, T65 locator, and a referral program. I breeze through that simply because these programs can be of great help to you, but you can't concentrate. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Those internet lead programs, we've got a couple of them now in play. One working through SEO. One is you're just buying a lead off of a system, and those are available for both final expense and health leads. The direct mail support, it's based on production. We work through different vetted lead vendors for that to make certain they have the technology to deliver upon the systems that you need and get that to you as quickly as possible. Lead Center is part of Medicare Center, and it's a way for you to buy leads through the system, delivered either on a hot transfer, should you choose to do so, a live transfer, or through information solely put into your CRM. It's a great way for you to control your lead flow based on budget and how you're able to handle it. Laura mentioned, if you get someone that raises their hand and you don't contact them, what have you done? You've incurred an expense and you haven't gotten a bloody thing out of it. So we want to make certain that we help you in that regard. The T65 locator is a program available to you without cost. You download it to a smart device and it helps you locate folks geographically. So let's say you've stacked appointments in a particular area, one cancels. What are you going to do for that hour or hour and a half between appointments? Well, community contacts can be very helpful, but there may be someone in that area that you can identify through this program that you can door knock. Can't do it for MA or PDP, but you can for dental or final expense or long-term care, a number of other programs where those constraints are a bit different. Referrals. Now, this is something that is not just part of the sales process, because this speaks to you about working referrals all the way through that, be it a circumstance where you sell them or not, but it's also a way to go back to your book of business through your CRM and keep those folks engaged as well. Hey, Mr. Client, I appreciate the trust that you put in me and allowing me to help you with your healthcare choices. I've got a dental program that's come available to me that is of great help to a lot of people in your area. Do you know of people that might help as well? You pause, and one of the first things is, well, why aren't you asking me about it? Well, you bring that up, boom, you've got somebody that you can speak to in that regard then. So a number of different ways to get in front of folks and make certain that you have that audience that is prime for the products that you have available and that you're offering. And we do all this because we want to earn your business. We want to be part of your support structure and help you across the way. So it's a case of putting these different programs in play and doing them quickly, because it is February, but we have 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, 7-1, 8-1, 9-1, 10-1, 11-1, 12-1 effective dates that we can do things with throughout the year using SEPs or additional product. So all that said and done, I'm going to check really quickly to make certain that we've handled any questions that might have popped up that aren't personal in nature that we need to address individually. We seem to be good there. So for those of you that are on the program or viewing this today and you work with Premier already, I thank you for that business. We look to enrich that relationship through the multitude of programs that we have available, but the grand opportunity you have in Central and North Texas with Baylor, Scott & White as well. For those of you that are checking us out, thank you for that opportunity. We look to earn your business as well. And for everyone that's come on the line, I thank you for the investment of your most valuable resource, and that's your time. Not overemphasize the gratitude we have for you spending part of that with us here today. And so until we are able to visit with you once again in the near future, I wish you good selling. Thanks so very much. We'll talk to you soon. And Laura, thank you very much for your presentation.